Hey y'all! Welcome to Zombieland. A lot of these trees I was very sure were dead are not dead now, which is great. And a few of them that were doing really good, I guess that was their last hurrah last summer, so they've gone now. But the ones that are left behind are looking pretty dang good, so let's take a walk. I've been a busy bee all spring. Doesn't even feel like spring now. It's been really hot out lately. I got my second application of lime put in, try and fix our very acidic soil. That went well. I finally wised up and got myself some of the those little flags that you use for surveying. Helped me mark out some actual even blocks on the ground. Made things go much smoother. And I got everybody pruned. Say hello to this lovely young apple tree here. Hello, lovely apple. It took me, when I say like 3 solid weeks of work to get everything pruned and everything cleaned off the lawn. I mean it. It was a task, but I got it done. I finally got a pile of wood chips back here. Hooray! It only took 8 months. Woohoo! The original plan for these was to be mulch around the base of the trees, but I was thinking about it. I don't know what kind of trees are in here. I don't know how healthy they were or how old they were. This is probably safer. I know I'm probably being too particular about it at this point, but I think I'm going to save these for when we put in a garden next year. I want to try a no-till garden, and you're supposed to have some kind of cover on that, like straw or wood chips. So I'm going to save that for the garden space, and any healthy prunings that we have, that's what I'm going to use to mulch around the base of the trees. As I was pruning, I was separating the healthy limbs from the not so healthy limbs, and the healthy things that looked not too dead or covered in fungus, I hand chopped into itty bitty 1 to 2 inch pieces. It took forever, but I made a lot of my own mulch this season, so I was really happy with that. I've definitely put a wood chipper on my Christmas list. But this is how it turned out. Trees like fungally dominated soil, and they like the kind of fungus that feeds on dead wood. So if you take ramial wood chips, which is the itty bitty ends of new limbs, growing limbs, and you cut them up and pile them up just like you would find on a forest floor. Supposedly that's really good at, it encourages the development of fungal networks. I haven't seen anything really growing in here, but then I haven't disturbed it, Also, I don't have it nearly as thick as it's supposed to be, but I have noticed that, ew, an earwig. Let's put that right back. I have noticed that it, if I do brush it aside, it stays a little moister under there. I mean, it's mulch. It does what it's supposed to do. In the thick spots, it keeps the weeds down, and it keeps the water in. So it's at least doing that. Some trees ended up with a lot of mulch. Some have a little. A little. But that's okay. We'll get there. One of my very big projects for this season was getting rid of all the dead stuff. So I finally finished digging out that massive stump from my last video. Like I said, I didn't dig it out entirely, but I kind of cut it down small enough that I could cover it over and let it rot. There was a big old dead tree here, and then over in the back to the left of the pair, there was a big old dead tree there. And there were a couple of little dead babies scattered around, so I think altogether maybe 4 dead trees taken out. Now they're all stacked up for firewood, so that was a big accomplishment. We have a couple of new faces around. These are baby rhododendrons. 1, 2, 3 baby rhododendrons. I love them so much, just for their purtiness. I love their flowers, rhododendrons and azaleas. And bees do too. Something I've noticed is that we do not have really any flowers around this place other than the clover and other little wildflowers that grow on the lawn, but there's no like flower beds other than the trees. There are a couple of shrubs out front, but they're really... It's a desert for flowers. So the pollinators are hungry. They have no real reason to be in my yard until I plant them some flowers. My eventual goal for this whole area is to make it a kind of a hybrid between an orchard and a food forest. So I've been studying permaculture principles, and I would love to have a guild kind of a setup for all of my little fruit trees. So getting back to we need some more flowers, this, I think it's a baby borage. It's either a borage or a lupin, because those are the only 2 flowers we planted back here, but I think it's a borage. If it is, then it is a relative of comfrey, which I have heard is very, very popular among the permaculture folks. There's a little bit of a debate about whether or not comfrey is good for you, but I do know that you can eat the flowers off of this little guy. It also has a very deep taproot that will mine for nutrients, and it should, if it ever grows up, have very big leaves that will hopefully shade out some weeds. We planted lupin and, what did I just say this was, borage, on maybe half a dozen of these little trees, and a lot of them died, which I figured, but these guys are coming up pretty good, whatever they are. Cute fuzzy babies. This apple we tried to surround with kind of a ring, like a semicircle of nasturtiums and marigolds. Marigolds for pollinators, and because they release some kind of a chemical through their roots that is supposed to deter insects. I think nematodes in particular, but bugs hate them. And then nasturtiums will spread and outcompete weeds. They'll outshade weeds, and then they have these really pretty flowers that pollinators also like. And I think, oh yeah, there's one. Hi, baby. Look at you. Let's give you some room here so I can see you and don't, whoops, shit. So I don't hit you with the lawnmower. These look like marigolds, right? These ones? I hope so. We didn't really, like, water them or mulch them or take care of them or anything. We just kind of scratched the ground and threw seeds on and hoped for the best. Oh, look. A bee. Anyway, these are California poppies because they're pretty and I like them. I did put these in a little kind of a cage. I had chicken wire on top when they were just seeds to keep the birds off of it, and so I wouldn't mow over it. And they're doing it. They're a little dry right now because we haven't had rain in a while, but ooh, I'm so proud of them. Look so soft. But the best part of the whole thing is that way. Behold! Fruit! That's not the only one. There's actually like a lot of fruit. Way more fruit than I expected ever in a million years, just based on how rough these guys were at the start of last autumn. Look at that is a pear. That's a pretty little pear. Look, there's another little pear in there. These actually, everybody flowered just brilliantly. Just smothered in flowers. And I was so busy, I didn't get like a whole lot of photos or video or anything, and I'm sorry, but I owe you an entire video next spring of just gorgeous fruit flowers. But billions of little fruitlets came out of that because trees overproduce, just like prey animals have a lot of babies because the odds are against them. Trees, I guess, make just billions and billions of baby fruits, knowing that so many are going to get eaten or infected or just freeze and drop off or whatever. I actually had to thin a lot of the fruitlets. If there were a whole bunch of little fruitlets in a cluster, I had to go through and pick the biggest, best looking one, save it, and pick all the other ones off. Since the leaves are like little sugar factories for the fruits, the more leaves you have per fruit, the more resources the tree can allocate to making sure each fruit is successful. In a nutshell. So when you thin the fruitlets to just one fruit every couple of inches, right, they have a better chance of growing to maturity and being bigger and sweeter and just overall better than if all of those whatever nutrients the plant needs, whatever water the plant needs, that if that's all spread out between a whole bunch of fruitlets, none of them are going to be very good. Thinning them also eliminates... Oh, sorry. See if I can find one. I missed these guys. They were probably too high up for me to reach. You see how they're all very close together? That is a prime hiding spot for insects, fungi. Lots of little nasty things love to get into the nooks and crannies between fruits. And if one of those gets a disease, it's going to hop over to the other two. Trees have their own wonderful kind of intelligence, and they will actually cull their own fruit throughout the season. Anything that they don't have the resources for, or things that are like terribly diseased or infested with bugs, they'll actually sever from themselves and drop off. There's one. So, like this guy here. See a yucky little bite in the side? There's a whole bunch of drops right now. And I actually went through here a couple weeks ago and I picked up it's the stone fruits are going first because they bloomed and fruited first. I picked up a bunch of these, like buckets and buckets of little infected baby fruitlets. And now I've got to go through and do it again because if you leave them on the ground, I'm going to pick that up in a second, but if you leave them on the ground like that, whatever insect, whatever bacteria, fungus, or whatever is going to get back into the soil where it can pupate, germinate, wriggle its way right back up the tree again next year. So I've been picking all these up, putting them in buckets and getting rid of them. I'm really happy that these things are fruiting, like super happy. But I'm also kind of bummed out because almost every single one of them has been bitten by some kind of insect or has little fungi and things growing on it. Not good stuff to munch on. Most people spray things on their trees. Fungicides, pesticides, what have you. Even organic farmers have organic approved things that they spray on their trees. I've been reading a lot about, like I said, permaculture and organic gardening, farming, and how we do things in an earth-friendly manner, and there's still stuff you spray. I'm not doing that this year because it is our first year here. I kind of wanted a baseline for comparison. I want to see how well they do with my hands off, because if I can get them, I mean, we don't need a lot of fruit. There's only 3 of us. We can give it away to the neighbors or can some maybe, you know, but we don't need a lot of fruit. So if we can share with the bugs, still get a handful of apples for us, and I don't need to input anything or spray anything, then why would I waste the time and money to do it? So we're going to see how things turn out this year. Also because sprays are expensive. I'm also paying attention to kind of who's who in the zoo. I'm trying to learn what insects are around here, how many insects are around here, and how they all kind of fit in the ecosystem. For example, we have curculio beetles. That's what bit that little peach I just showed you. And we have a lot of them, which is a problem. But I've noticed we also have a lot of ladybugs. We also have a lot of wheel bugs. We have a lot of spiders. So if they can balance their own doings, right? If the ecosystem is healthy enough that they all keep each other in check, then I don't really want to come through and decimate part of that and put the rest of it at risk and maybe have something new and awful come up to fill that gap. I don't know yet, so I'm just watching, just observing this year, not going to mess with it too much. Next year we'll probably get things on some kind of a spray schedule. At least a physical barrier like surround. I think that's about it for right now. But the more I walk around, the more... Hi, pears! Woo! The more I walk around, the more little fruits I see dropped on the ground. So I'm going to get my bucket and gloves and start scooping, and I will talk to you guys later. Hope you're all doing great out there. Toodaloo!